Welcome to the lecture on design of top and seat angle connection. I will explain the design principle of top and seat angle connection through a numerical example. In this example, the top and seat angle has to be designed to connect a beam of ISLB 400 to a column of ISHB 250. Through this connection, the beam has to transfer a shear of 200 kilonewton. So this is a shear connection or simply supported connection. So here when you see in the end view of this connection, this is the beam and this is the column, this is the top angle and this is the seat angle. The top angle sometimes is also called as a clip angle. So here in this top and seat angle design, there are two components to be designed. One is the design of seat angle, that is the dimensioning the size of the seat angle. The next component is the group of board going to transfer the shear from the beam to the column through the seat angle. So these two are very essential in the design of top and seat angle connection, where the top angle is not to be designed for any force, but this is to be provided in a nominal dimension. To explain the design of seat angle, I should explain the force transferring mechanism of the beam, the shear from the beam to the seat angle to the column. I'll explain that force transfer mechanism before designing the seat angle. So to explain this, I'll take the enlarged view of that region. That is this region. I'll take the enlarged region of this region. So where this is the seat angle, I'll show it in a little better way. So this is the enlarged view of the seat angle region. This is the beam. This is the beam. This two lines said to be the thickness of the flange, and this dashed line is nothing but the critical plane at which the beam is going to subjected to high shear. That is at a bearing area. So to transfer the shear safely to the seat angle, the beam has to have a safe bearing area. So bearing area is nothing but, so it is a length on the seat area and a dispersion length. So from this bearing area, the dimension of seat outstand has to be decided. So this bearing area, first I'll explain the bearing area. So this bearing area is located based on the clause given in IS 800-2007. It says that at the support that the dispersion angle is 1 in 2.5. To determine the dispersion length, this length, you have to know what is this length. So this is nothing but the height of the beam at which it undergo the shear failure, that is crippling may happen. So the critical section is at the top of the root of the bottom flange. So this will be the height. We know from SP6 part 1, we know what is this height. So if I know this height, this could be evaluated. This is nothing but 2.5 times this height, because 1 in 2.5. So from this you can able to calculate what is the dispersion length. So to know the bearing length, so bearing area to be calculated. So from the bearing area we came to know what is the bearing length, from which we know what will be the minimum bearing length required on the cleat for the beam to transfer the shear. Therefore, from the B, you add there is a small gap or clearance to be provided between the column flange and the beam. So this clearance is approximately 10 mm. If I know that the purpose of the clearance to have a tolerance for the beam to have a if there is any variation in this length, or is there is any thermal expansion, that has to be taken into account. So some clearance to be kept between the face of the column to the web. So if you add this clearance to the B, you know what will be the length of the outstand of seat angles required to transfer the shear safely from the beam to the column. So through the seat angle. So if I know the B, I could able to dimension what will be the outstand of the seat angle. After knowing the dimension, I should calculate what will be the thickness required to keep the beam in its position, because this outstand is act as a cantilever. So under the application of the load, actually the shear force expected to transfer as a UDL over this length as a UDL. So you know what is the UDL going to transfer to the cleat angle. But after the load transfer, if the cleat is not so stiff, then it try to bend like this, because of flexibility. Therefore, what to do? You have to calculate the length of cantilever portion of your outstand of your seat angle. So that is said to be BA. This is calculated by knowing the length of the outstand. If I know the value of B by adding the the distance, for example B plus the clearance, and you deduct the thickness and root radius, you will get what is your BA. If I know the BA, so this BA is going to act as a cantilever. So it's going to act as a cantilever. The UDL on this is nothing but this UDL. This UDL is nothing but what is the shear force coming from the beam divided by the bearing length of the beam. I know the UDL to be expected on this cantilever part. If I know the cantilever length, say this length is said to be BA, then I know what is the moment at the fixed end, which is equal to this load into L squared by 2. That will be the moment. So if I know the moment on the outstand, I could effectively design this cross section, because this cleat is going to be like this. So this is the cleat, this is the cleat, this is the cleat. It's going to run over a length. I'll explain. See here, this is the cleat, this is the cleat, this is the cleat. So this is your length of the cleat, LA. It is said to be length of the cleat. This is nothing but outstand. So this thickness, so here you have an effective area over this thickness. So that is going to be resisting your moment. So this is the angle thickness. This is the effective area. So this cross section area going to resist the cantilever moment. So you have to decide what will be the thickness of this angle and what will be the length of the angle to be provided to make this outstand to be a level surface or stiff enough to carry the beam. The next component will be the group of bolt going to transfer the shear from the seat angle to the column. So here, since the shear force is larger, you may have more than one rows of bolts. Therefore, you adopt an unequal angle. So the longer leg to be used to accommodate more than one row of bolt. This bolt to be estimated by knowing the load coming on the seat angle and what is the capacity of one bolt. If I know the total force and capacity of one bolt, I can able to calculate what is the number of bolt for which the group of bolt has to be designed. So with this information, we'll go to the design steps. See here, H2, that is the critical location from the top of the seat angle or bottom of the beam flange. So that is referred from SP6 part 1. And if I know the H2, I could able to calculate dispersion length. So by knowing this total length, I could able to calculate what is my B, because I know what is the bearing length. If I reduce this dispersion length, I know what is the bearing length of the beam to be required, or this is a safe bearing length of the beam required on the seat angle. So with this B, I could able to dimension the size by including the clearance. After knowing that, then I decide the thickness of the angle, seat angle to be decided. So coming to the section property, this is the beam property and this is the column property. Since I am expecting the thickness, because the shear area is nothing but, see here, the shearing area is nothing but, so the shear is expected to transfer over a bearing length into the thickness of the web of the beam. So the beam is running like this, at the top of the thing. So this area, so that is this area into the thickness TW of B, breadth of that is beam web thickness is nothing but the bearing area of the beam to transfer the shear safely. Therefore, I'll take that thickness, and the H2, this is the H2 I require to calculate the dispersion length and the flange length, because to decide the size of the angle I should know what will be the size of the beam flange and what is the size of the column flange. So I should go for secant length either within the flange length or beyond this, but no case larger than the flange width of the column. So I'll take that distance also. Here the thickness of the flange, because to calculate the capacity of the bolt, I know what is the thickness of the column flange. With this input, I'll go for the calculation of the bearing length. So here I know that the support reaction is expected to transmit as a UDL. Then with the dispersion angle, I calculate what is the dispersion length. So bearing length is nothing but, I already explained, B plus this dispersion length. This is your bearing length into the thickness of the web is bearing area. So bearing area I calculated. So in this one, I am not knowing what is this B required to safely transfer this shear from the beam to the seat angle. Therefore, first I'll calculate what is the bearing area required to transfer the shear. This is the shear expected. So this I calculated based on the provision given in IS 800 in the clause 8.7.4, where it is given by this expression. Here B1 plus N2 into TW will be your bearing area into the stress. So this bearing area I calculated here. So first I know what will be the bearing area required, minimum area required to transfer the shear. Therefore, this is the minimum area required. So if I know the area, then I know this area from which I calculate what is the breadth of the leg required to transfer the shear from the beam to the seat angle. So this is the bearing length of the beam on the cleat is essential to safely transfer the shear. Therefore, I'm calculating what is that B. So how I'm doing? I'm dividing by TW, minusing with the DL, I'll get minimum B required. So with this one, I add the clearance. So if I know the B and this clearance, I get what will be the length of the outstand required. So with the B calculation, I add the tolerance. I already said that a clearance of 5 mm and a tolerance of 5 mm, totally 10 mm has to be adopted. So I got a maximum allowable bearing length on the leg, outstand leg is 40 mm. So with this reference, I go for an unequal angle of 150 cross 75 cross 10 mm. So I should take little more than the value, because I plan to make this 75 as a outstand leg in the seat angle. I'll take the necessary input data. This is the one angle distance, another angle distance, thickness of the angle, and this is the this is R1 is a heel radius and R2 is a root toe radius, and the LA is nothing but length of the angle to be adopted for this particular problem. So my primary aim to calculate what will be the cantilever length of my outstand length. So that I have calculated by using this expression. So the BA, what I do, I'll calculate B plus this tolerance minus TA and minus this root radius and this root radius. I get what will be the value of BA. So what I'm doing is I'm calculating the BA by taking this B, that is minimum required to transfer the shear, and you are adding the tolerance and you deducting the seat angle thickness and root of the angle on the heel region as well as toe region. I'll get what will be the minimum cantilever length required to transfer the shear. So this is not the design length, this is the required length, because this length is used to calculate effect expected on the seat angle outstand length. So I know that this load is, the shear force is going to transfer as a UDL over the length of the beam length B. Therefore, I divide the shear by B. I'll get the the reaction say as a UDL. Taking that as a UDL, I calculate the moment, the cantilever moment, as I explained here, this cantilever moment at this end, because this cantilever length is BA. So here I calculate the moment on the outstand length. Now I am going for the calculation of capacity of the outstand. I know that I am going for a LA of a length of, see here already I decided, because I know the breadth of the beam flange is 165. I'm going little beyond that value. So here I'm taking the length of the seat angle is 180 mm with the length and the thickness. As I have explained here, the seat angle area is nothing but length into area of cross section. So this is like a rectangle. My section modulus is nothing but 1/6 into breadth into thickness square. With the understanding, I calculate the elastic section modulus. I'll take the elastic moment capacity for this connection, because this area is very small. I'll take the elastic moment capacity. So this moment capacity has to be larger than the moment exactly coming on the outstanding leg. So here this is the expected moment, but the capacity is this much. Therefore, the seat angle is stiff enough to act as a seat for the beam to transfer the given reaction. And also this seat angle also to be checked, this cross section also to be checked against shear. So therefore I'm taking the shear area as I had explained. So this is the shear area, because this is going to shear with respect to the other leg. Therefore this is the shear area. So that is nothing but LA into TA, that is your shear area. I calculate shear area into, I am substituting the yielding expression, shear capacity under yielding. So it comes about 236 by my shear one is only 200. Therefore the capacity is larger than the shear force coming on the cross section. From this information, I conclude that the seat angle is safe to carry the shear, or it is able to act as a stiff seat for the beam. Then next one is the connection between the seat angle leg to the column flange. So for that, the problem says that this is the type of the bolt and size has to be taken for the design. So I take the necessary data. Since in the case of seat angle, so here this is the connection, the shearing plane is single shearing plane. Therefore I am going to calculate the shear capacity under single shear. Bolt is under single shear. Therefore I calculate the shear capacity as well as the bearing capacity. While calculating the bearing capacity, I should know what is the end distance as well as the pitch distance. While doing the calculation, the end distance minimum required here will be, or the provided will be 35 mm. If 35 mm is provided, I should check the angle leg what I have already assigned. So I took this length will be 150 mm. So I am going to see whether this 150 mm able to satisfy this end distance, where this BA1 and BA2 are nothing but back angle distance. This I have referred in SP6 part 1 in page number 168, where the back angle distance for the two line of bolts are given in the code. Therefore I'll take that distance as first distance and second distance plus edge distance. So I should take the length of this leg must be the 135, but I had 150. Therefore the chosen section is able to or give space to provide the assigned end distance. So from this I am calculating the bearing capacity, but from the magnitude I said that, or I found that the bolt value is governed by shear capacity of the bolt, which is equal to this much. Then I calculate what is the number of bolt required to transfer this shear. So the shear force divided by bolt value, I'll get what will be the number of bolt. So I got 4, it is approximately 4 bolt. I provided 2 bolt in 2 rows. That is like this. There are 4 bolts. Each row I provide 2 bolts. So to connect the seat angle leg to the column flange. So this is the top angle. Here there is no separate design for the top angle. This is only a nominal size to be adopted to clip the beam to the column flange. And the connection between the top angle to the beam flange as well as the column flange. Regarding the connection, the top angle to the column flange or top angle to the seat angle, you should provide a suitable connection. Similarly, the bottom flange of the beam to the seat angle is also to be done in a suitable manner. Therefore, you have to design the top and seat angle connection. Again, to comprehend the design, I once again repeat the main design component of this top and seat angle connection. So in this connection, you have to decide the dimension of the seat angle and the bolt group to transfer the reaction from the beam to the seat angle to the column flange. So these are the things you have to design it in the top and seat angle connection. Thank you.